Welcome to the Spiritually Rich podcast, a podcast dedicated to helping you call in more abundance in every area of your life. I am so excited to finally be launching this podcast, and I could not have asked for a better guest for my first episode. So welcome. For anyone that doesn't know, this is my husband, Jeff,
good to meet you.
And my soulmate and the love of my life and my best friend. And we wanted to start this episode talking about a little bit about how we met and also about how to call in your dream person. And most importantly, how to call in a really healthy relationship. We know so many people that are out there searching to find their dream person, their soulmate. And so I wanted to have my husband share from a healthy man's perspective what healthy men look for in women and how you can really work on calling in your dream person. So first, how do you want to tell some background on how we met and how you attracted me?
Yeah, for sure. First of all, thanks for having me on your first episode.
Oh, you're welcome.
Very special.
It is special.
And I'm excited for you. And so little background on us. How we met was I was finished up playing basketball, or I was still actively playing at the time. And my trainer, shout out Jordan Lawley, amazing basketball trainer, but a better person, better human. I was hanging out at the gym and in walked this amazing woman and I was swept off my feet.
Oh,
no, that's the story I tell. But no, I was in there and there was this, I always like to interact with the kids and interact with the youngins that come in there. I know it can be really intimidating in a basketball setting for these young kids to come, and there's a bunch of grown men and professionals and college players. And so I saw Noah over there training and, went and encouraged him, talked to him a little bit. And then, down the road, I think you posted something of Noah training in there, and then Jordan reposted it. And I was like, oh, that's that kid I was, talking with. I loved, looked like he was working really hard, playing really hard. And so I was clicked on it. And then I saw your page. And then the first thing that honestly caught my eye was your bio, and then just talking about
the work I do,
the work you do and everything. And at that time I had gone through some stuff and some struggles, and I was at a stage where I was helping a lot of people too. And that was, I think my first thing was just, I needed someone to go to and I was running on empty. And so I think the first thing I asked you was, what do you do when you need someone? Like who does the teacher go to when they need help, And
yeah, I remember that.
And then I was on the road for a month and we became DM buddies and
pen pals.
Yeah, pen pals.
And just a little background. Jeff has played professional basketball overseas for 13 years. And my son, Noah, he also plays basketball. He's now in high school. So that's where the connection came in. But okay, let's fast forward a little bit. So I invited you over for a barbecue. Mind you, I invited him because I thought he would be a great Manny. I thought he would be great to play with Noah and play basketball. And he seemed like a really kind person, but never with the intention of a relationship or hooking up or anything like that.
No.
So in walks this tall drink of water with his beautiful jawline. And I was like, wow, this guy is something. And it's really your aura. It's really your energy, your presence. Everyone that meets him, when you meet him, he has such a special energy. I used to tell my friends he has a clean energy. And there's a reason why, which I'm excited for you to share your story. And the first night that we met, we opened up to each other. We told each other our whole life story, all of our deepest, darkest secrets. And I think that that's really when we became best friends. So do you want to share a little bit about your journey and what led you to becoming such a healthy man?
Yeah, for sure. It's a story I don't tell too often. It's something that but with you, it just felt like you said, it was clean. It felt like home. I remember coming up to the place and your door was propped wide open, the front door. Normally, man, you should knock before you walk into some lady's house with her kid there. But I just came in, like, I was like, I'm home, and no, it was funny. I kind of knocked and just walked in and I was like, hello, anyone here? I had gone through some really low points while traveling. When you travel alone across the world and you have no family, no friends with you, Americans, there's usually anywhere from 2 to 3 or 4 Americans on each team. So a lot of the guys speak other languages and, they're in their hometown. So they're living their own life and you're just kind of on your own. And if you don't get along with the other American, you're just kind of out of luck. You're a lone wolf and you gotta every day, besides basketball practice and training, you're eating by yourself. You're, going out by yourself, doing everything alone. So it got pretty dark at times. And, I got into some stuff, that living a life that wasn't clean and right and healthy, and kind of led me off my path. And I, had decided that, hey, now is the time. Like, I don't know how deep you want me to go into it with everything, but there was kind of a breaking point where I decided one time that, like, my life's going to change here and now. And I made some life choices that kind of flipped the script, so to speak. And I was, I just wasn't living. I was having panic attacks all day, every day. And it just was a place where I didn't want to live like that anymore. I didn't want to live at all.
I think that it's important to be a little transparent about like what that lifestyle looked like. You were sleeping around, were doing, maybe go into a little of that detail, because that's where I know things shifted for you. And I want anyone who's hearing this or watching this to understand that, like, when you're sharing your energy with random people all the time and you're not grounded and you're not connected, what that does to you mentally, emotionally, physically, and how that affected you. And that's what led you on your healing journey, and ultimately why we met. Yeah, no,
it's true. It's, when I started my rookie year in Brazil, and I'd kind of, you get away from home and you get away from your support system and your people. You start maybe just doing something that you normally don't do, or you hang out with certain people that you normally wouldn't have hung out with. But because you're out alone and you had nothing else to do, you decided to join it, and so, I started sleeping around with a lot of girls and a lot of women, and, going to strip clubs and doing things that I normally wouldn't have done, that weren't in alignment with who I am. But I was bored on a Friday night, and it's either that or sit by myself. So I'm going to go with the team and, just follow the crowd. And that's where things started just going downhill. And, like you said, sleeping with people that you don't really know, that you don't really care about, that you don't know what they do in their off time and like who they actually are. It's a lot deeper than people think. It's not just meaningless sex and one night stands. Like it goes a lot deeper than that. And a lot of it is not necessarily felt right away. Like, men just think, oh, it's just a one night stand. I'm in and I'm out, and there's no emotional tie to it. Mm-hmm. But subconsciously and stuff and spiritually, like, there is something going on there. And that's big for people to understand. And so that was kind of my turning point. Is I had done that. I was down in Mexico and I'd just gone out the night before, partied. We'd hung out at, a strip club thing, and slept with some girl. And then the next morning I woke up and it felt like there's an elephant, just like, or a knot in my chest. Like, and I was literally in the fetal position on my side in bed, and we were supposed to fly out that day for a road trip. And not to brag, but being the best player when I called my owner and was like, hey, I can't go. I can't go on this road trip. And he's like, what do you mean? You're our guy. Like, you have to go. Like, we're playing the best team. You need to be there. And I said, no, I can't. And he's like, well, what's wrong? And he wouldn't understand what it is. Like, I couldn't go deep about it. So, I just had to lie and tell him I was really, really sick, congested, I couldn't fly and all that. But that started a 2 to 3 week hiatus where I didn't really leave that room. I stayed there. I had that knot in my chest for days. I would make a bowl of oatmeal in the morning, maybe eat 2 to 3 bites in the morning, a bite in the afternoon, like drink enough water to stay alive. I was really just wilting away in my room. Lost 20 to 30 pounds in those 2-3 weeks. And I didn't go outside. They were like, hey, you got to go to practice. You got to go to games. My friends are, I was in a city. I did have a lot of friends and lived on the beach, and they're like, hey, come out. We're, doing this. We're going to the beach. And I'm like, no, I can't. And luckily I did have some, Maka, when he was around still, was my youth pastor growing up, and just a Samoan guy. You met him right before he passed away. And I called him. I hadn't talked to him in years. And I'm like, hey, Maka, like, I don't know what's going on. There's a spiritual warfare going on in my body and something. I don't know. I've been taken over by I don't know what's going on, but like, it's not right. And I'm not going to last that much longer if this is where we go. And so he was praying, and we talked through some things, and slowly but surely I had some good friends there that forced me to get outside and get some sunlight, move around, and that's when I decided, like, I'm done sleeping around. I'm not sharing my energy with anyone else. Like, until I meet my best friend, my wife, Nicole, then I'm done. Like, it's not worth it. And so for the next year, I didn't drink. I didn't go out, because I knew if I did, I wouldn't be able to resist when, there's a beautiful woman that's trying to hang out. I couldn't say no. And then over time, little by little, I was able to then, go out, drink, hang out, do it in moderation, in a healthy way. And there were so many times where it's like the day I said no, all the girls that I had tried to get with in the past were like, oh, hey, what's up? Like, how you been? And, it's this test of, are you really about this or are you not? And thankfully, I, stayed strong. I was locked in. I was focused. I knew this was for the better for me. And and then 6 years down the road, I was strong. And, there's plenty of times where you're hanging out one-on-one with someone in a room, and they're like, come on, let's just do it. Let's just go a little further. And it's like, no. And then I especially knew in that moment that girl was not the one, because if she was,
right,
she would never be pressuring me into that. Yeah. And that's something I'm sure you'll touch on why I felt the first night when I told you all of this and everything, like, you can speak on how you felt in those moments.
Well, yeah, that's why I wanted you to share your story for everyone to hear. Because when we had that conversation and you told me that you were celibate and you were waiting for marriage now, I just found it so incredibly attractive. I know as a young man, especially a man who's already had sex, to have the willpower and self-respect to hold your energy in that capacity is just so profound and is like so rare.
Yeah.
And the next episode, which will be a part 2 of this, we're going to talk about why we waited till marriage to have sex. Not a lot of people know that story. And I think it's just really powerful for people navigating new relationships, and why we did it and why it's so incredible and so healthy. But before we move into part 2, I want to continue to talk about what it takes to call in a healthy relationship. So Jeff did 6 years of deep healing work, saving his energy, going within. Like he said, he was alone so much, but instead of going out and sleeping around like all of the other athletes would be doing, he was doing deeper work on himself, and he was doing yoga and meditation and going deeper. And what happens, and what I think you've shared with a lot of the younger men that you've mentored, is when you create that boundary and that space for yourself, you create the space to call in a higher quality relationship. So at the same time you were doing that work, I was doing my own work as well. I was on a deep, deep healing journey, fresh out of divorce, doing a lot of healing. And had I not done that work, 100%, we wouldn't have been an energetic match. So the one thing that I want anyone who's listening to this to take away is to understand that we all attract based on where we are at energetically and vibrationally. And had Jeff and I met at a earlier point in our lives, it wouldn't have worked because we just weren't a match yet. Or we would have been attracted to, some of the more toxic things, and that would have not been a healthy relationship. So we are just firm believers in doing the deep work on yourself first so that you can call in a high quality person into your life. Like you share with some of your friends and men that you mentor, you've told me that when you started to clean your life up, you were able to call in a higher quality person. But when you're just sharing your energy with everyone and you're not respecting yourself, that's the type of energy and the quality of person that's going to show up. So last night, you and I were having a conversation and I asked you if a woman is looking for a high quality man in a healthy relationship, what advice would you give her? Because I think I can give that advice from my perspective and my coaching and my teaching, but I think it's really powerful for women to hear it from a man. What are healthy, strong, good men with high morals and values looking for?
Yeah, I mean, that's such a great question. It's the $1 million question. Just to touch base back on like what you were saying, I remember my thought process back then was, I'm going to keep partying, doing my thing. And then as soon as I find the right one, I'll cut this out. Mm-hmm. And it was like, that one never showed up for 10 years, like years, and through college, through, all that. And then the moment it was like, it might be a month down the road of cleaning it up, or it might be, for me, it took 6 years before, but I stayed steady and consistent with that, going within and focusing on me, being selfish for the first time in my life and putting me first. And like, that's what, and then after 6 years, when it was like, hey, I don't, take control, I'm out, I'm just going to focus on me, do me. And when it happens, and then that's when I randomly ran into you.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest thing but as far as what men are looking for, like I know when I wasn't looking, I was just living and letting it come naturally. But like the things that really hit home with you was just a strong woman who is basically mimicking what I'm doing. Like you did the self healing, you're independent, like we're not, codependent on your partner or your spouse. Like we love our alone time. Like if I'm gone for a whole day, you're not blowing up my phone every 20 minutes, every hour, 2 hours. Like, hey, where you at? It's just, you're independent. You can do your thing, and we appreciate our alone time. Women who are driven, like that's a big one for me, was always like, I don't want a woman who's just sits around is like, I want someone who has some purpose in life. Like she knows what she's on this earth to do. She loves others. She loves kids. And obviously I saw the way you mother Noah, and I was like, that's my dream wife right there. That the way you love on him and, all the things that he was going through and you're going through, it's just, that was really special. Everyone always joked like, you're going to end up marrying a single mom. And I was just kind of, brush it off. But yeah, it's just, sorry, I'm getting off track thinking of you and Noah. It's just like, I could go on forever.
I love you. Yeah.
But yeah, no, back to.
Yeah. What for women who are searching for their dream person, I think the message is focus on yourself, focus on your own healing journey, and that man will appear. But like, I was on the phone with someone last night and she's like, oh, I don't chase anyone. I've never been on a dating app. I've never done any of that. But then went on to explain that she's always overthinking about what to say to a guy because she doesn't want a guy to think that she's needy and this and that. And every guy that she's attracted has been like really toxic and unhealthy. And I was trying to explain to her, that is still chasing energy, right?
Yeah.
Just because you randomly met somebody, if your energy is, if I want this relationship to fill this emptiness that I'm feeling inside. And that is where I see all men and women go wrong when it comes to attracting relationships. They think that the person is going to fill the void and the emptiness and the sadness or whatever it is. And then that person needs to become responsible for their happiness. And in the beginning, most relationships are like that, right?
Yeah.
They have great sex, which is what we want to talk about next. And everything is unicorns and rainbows until all of that starts to fade off. The honeymoon fades off. And then you're left with two people who have a lot of healing to do. And then you're looking to each other to make each other happy because you've never learned how to genuinely make yourself happy and how to genuinely love yourself. And I want to say that was one of the most attractive things to me when I met you, was how much self-respect that you had and how much you loved yourself, like how much you weren't chasing. You were the first guy I'd ever dated that wasn't asking me to send pictures or nudes or whatever. And I just remember thinking like, this is such a breath of fresh air, like such a
good imagination.
So just, cause you weren't chasing.
Yeah.
And
I was going to say like, the void is the biggest thing. Like a lot of people, men and women, are out there trying to, I'm not happy because I'm missing a partner, or whatever it is. And they try to fill it through that person. And that just is a spiral because there's no depth to that. Whoever the next person is that they get with. I had friends that would, as soon as they broke up, the next week they're in a relationship.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how?
Yeah.
Like if you are truly in love with someone, a week later, you can't be healed and into another relationship. Being true to yourself and understanding your worth and not, what's the word? Not sacrificing, but not lowering. Yeah. Settling. Not settling for something that's okay. Like expect not perfection, but like your perfect partner.
And I think that also it's really important for people to understand that oftentimes 99.999% of the time we have to do work on ourselves in order to have that high level of self-worth and deservability. Most people don't. I didn't, which is a whole other story. But it took me years and years of healing, deep healing, to really learn how to love myself. And then when I realized my worth, everything shifted. Remember, you used to make fun of me?
Yeah.
That what did I say? It's an honor to be with me.
Yeah. I'm like, it is. But it's like not from a cocky standpoint.
It wasn't.
And it's the same thing. Like I used to always, there was girls that I would be hanging out with and this and that. And my friends would be like, oh, she's so pretty. Why aren't you dating her? Like, why? And I'm like, because like, you understand that like she's winning in this situation. Like I'm not. Like she's pretty, but she's not. There's no substance to her. She's with me for whatever, like because she wants to travel with me and play, go around the world and play basketball, or she wants to hang out with me and my friends because we're partying a lot. There was no depth to her, and so I knew like it wasn't about looks. And that's why when me and you met, and we literally were best friends and just homies, very good looking best friends that we like we're going to talk about later, that what that how that led into something real,
something so healthy and so real.
And so those are the key things that are really big for women that men are looking for, is not women who are confident, women who aren't, like you said, that lady, like second guessing in this and, kind of timid. But it's hard because a lot of guys also don't want confident,
strong woman. Well, yeah, but we're talking about healed, healthy men, right? We're not talking about just attracting a guy that checks a bunch of boxes because he is kind of nice sometimes and has money and this and that. No, it's about attracting a high quality, healthy man, a high quality, healthy relationship. So hopefully that was helpful and you can take some nuggets from our story and my husband's beautiful feedback. I think we should wrap this one up so that we can go into part 2, which is going to be super juicy. Stay tuned.